Shabbat Shalom. I am so impressed you have made it into the sanctuary with kippot of varying colors. We're going to get started in 35 seconds. Some of your parents are here. Some of you are with just each other. There are some people here who are neither 5th nor 6th graders, nor the parent of a 5th or 6th grader. That's also really exciting.
There are tots out the back.
There are some tots in the vicinity. You might see them behind our prayer space today, which is also exciting. And we are going to begin our service. You should also remember that in addition to those of you who are here in person, we also have people praying with us from their living rooms and perhaps even their bedrooms, from all sorts of other places. And I'm very excited to have all of us here, both in this space and out in the world. But this is a reminder that you can be heard and seen from elsewhere as well.
It's true. All right, we're going to get started singing a nigun, and a nigun is a melody that has no words. The words are yai-la-lai. I'm sure you can all figure that out. Here we go. Yai-lai-la-lai, 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 yai-lai. Rabbi class, I don't know about the people at home, but I feel like that might have been a bit much for the people here.
We don't know if they're here yet.
I'm not sure if they're here.
All right. Maybe we need a Shabbat Shalom to get us arrived. So if you are in your homes or if you are here, stand up. All right. And I want you with your whole body and your voice to respond when I say the words. Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom!
All right, there was like one person's body that moved and a number of voices. Let's try one more time. Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom!
Oh, there was more body movement and I heard more voices. Phenomenal. I think we are mostly here. We're going to arrive in our bodies a little bit, so take one arm and put it up to the sky. Second arm up. Wave them around. Let them drop. Take your shoulders up. Roll them back around and back to the front. And then forward and back. Drop just one shoulder. Switch shoulders. One more time. One more time. Okay, let both shoulders drop. Take your hands, put them in front of your face. Make them very small. Now make them as big as you can get them. Small as you can get them. Big as you can get them. Maybe roll your wrists once or twice, and then in the other direction. All right, now you may take a seat. Let your head drop to one side. Just feel what that feels like. Let it come back up to center. Let it drop to the other side. Bring it back to center. Turn to one side and say, hello, person, to my one side.
Hello, person to my one side.
And then to the other side and say, hello, person to my other side.
Oh, it's the back of the head of the person on my other side. Goodness.
And then bring your head back to center. Take a breath in. Let it out. So we learn in Judaism that we are a combination of body and soul. We are only ourselves because we have both hands and toes and noses and hair. Most of us have hair, at least. Sometimes the hair leaves eventually. But most of us have some hair. Elbows, we have knees. All of these things help make us who we are, but we also have a soul, and that soul comes to us through breath, and that soul is eternal, so every time we breathe, we are reminded that there is a part of us that is invisible but helps make us who we are as well. So close your eyes. Take a breath in. Let it out. Take one more breath in. Let it out. You may open your eyes. So many of you know this because you have been here already for a little bit, but there are those of us who are joining, both here and online, that may not know that we have a 5th and 6th grade program happening today. The 5th and 6th graders who are with us in the sanctuary have been talking about Torah all morning, both the big T Torah that we will chant this morning and also the little T Torah that is inside of each of us. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for now, we are going to begin our prayer service, our Shabbat morning service, with the words of Baruch Hu, the call to worship. So now that our bodies are ready, now that our souls are on their way to ready, we will invite you to rise, and we will face the ark for the words of Baruch Hu.
And if you'd like to use your prayer book, we're on page 226. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam yotzer or uvorei choshech oseh shalom uvorei et hakol hameir la'aretz veladarim aleha barachamim uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam bechochma asita mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifa'arucha sela or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh chulanu mehera le'oro baruch ata Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot.
In a moment we will pray the words of Shema. I invite you to take 3 fingers and put them in front of your face. You can close your eyes or keep them open. Your 3 fingers are in the shape of a shin. That shin is the first letter of the word Shema. It also sounds like sh, which is helpful as a reminder for all of us to shh ourselves and listen in so that we might all hear the words we are about to pray.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. We are on page 234, getting ready to chant the Ve'ahavta, words that come right out of Torah, kind of a to-do list of how to show love for God. Here we go. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvchol nafshecha uvchol me'odecha ve'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levanecha vidibarta bam bishivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochvecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha Uchtam tam al mizuzot beitecha uvishe arecha lema antizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
So I don't actually know whether the person is in fifth or sixth grade, but somebody who is here this morning asked, why do we have to be here?
I heard that happen.
That happened? Maybe there was more than one person? A couple? All right. And we came up with some answers, right? One was because our parents made us. That is a legitimate answer when you're 11, actually. Your parents get to make you do things. Another is because it's Shabbat. That is also a really good reason. It's a great time for Jews to be in a sanctuary, Shabbat, turns out. And the third reason is that all of you who are here, particularly for this program, are preparing to prepare to become B'nai Mitzvah. And we have prepared a service this morning that is very much like the service you will be leading when you become Bar and Bat Mitzvah, B'nai Mitzvah. And we're kind of taking turns being the Bar Bat Mitzvah. We're taking turns being the B'nai Mitzvah student here.
While also being ourselves.
It's very confusing. It's a lot of hats. So what I am curious about from all of you is what questions you have. Don't leave them right now. This is a time for you to start thinking about questions. What you might want to know about what the person who's leading the service should know, because all of you will be the person leading this service. So start thinking now, and grown-ups, you can also be thinking about this as well. Sometimes grown-ups have questions too. That's a great thing, actually.
Yeah.
And there will be a point where I stop and say, all right, so what have you been wondering about that you'd like to know more about? Now is not that time. Now is the time to pray Michamocha. But this is my warning that there will be a time when you are invited to ask any question you may have had ever in life about what it means to lead a service or why we make the choices we make during a service.
And I'm going to, before we sing Micha Mocha, just to give you a sense of where we are heading inside of our service, and just a little piece about why we make the choices that we make. So some of all of you, I think I can safely say every person in the sanctuary has come to services at Temple Bethel at other times. For some of you in 5th and 6th grade, it's going to Tefillah on Sundays, pretty much every single week that you're here on Sundays, plus Shabbat sometime. And some of the melodies that we're using today are different. There are reasons for that. But this melody for Micha Mocha in particular, I think may not be super familiar. And I will tell you, one of the things that's cool about it is that it sounds very Jewish. Okay, what do I mean by that? I'm going to sing a little bit just for a second, and then we'll actually pray the thing in a minute. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai. Okay, does that sound happy or sad? If you think sounds happy, raise your hand. Ooh. If you think it sounds sad, raise your hand.
We have a lot of sad votes, and we had a couple happy votes. Just for those joining us from afar, we had 2 on the happy. We had many on the sad front.
So in about 4 prayers, we're actually going to sing another song that sounds really similar to that, and that it goes da na 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 da na 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 na. Okay, which sounds sad to most of you, happy to 2 of you, and I want to tell you right now that musical structure has a special name in Jewish music, and it's called Ahava Rabbah, which Ahava Rabbah means a great love, like a big, big love. It doesn't mean that the melody is about big love. It means that melody is actually associated with a prayer that was earlier in the service, and it's actually meant to be very happy. So, part of what we do in introducing these other melodies to you is to expand your understanding of what Jewish music is and can be and has been throughout generations. So, in a normal service, we have songs that maybe seem more similar to what we might hear on the radio. And then we have songs like this version of Mi Chamocha and Yismachu in a little bit that are very uniquely Jewish sounding. So we're going to sing Mi Chamocha in just a moment, but after Mi Chamocha, we actually transition right into our Amidah. Okay, can anybody share anything that you know about the Amidah? I see a hand there. I can't see who it is, but I saw a hand. No? No.
Sitting next to Zach, I think, maybe. Was that the hand?
No, it wasn't a real hand,
okay.
Maybe. Okay, Matthew?
It's the what?
It's the prayers at the center of our service. Ooh, boy, oh boy. Okay, that's a great one. So the Amidah are the prayers at the center of our service. Oh, it lists the people who founded Judaism. Okay, so the very first prayer in the Amidah, the Avot V'Imahot, lists many of our forefathers and foremothers, our ancestors. Any other things that you know about the Amidah, Nick?
Gotta say it a little louder.
I heard very important. I definitely heard very important.
Nope.
Okay. Afterwards, Nick, you will tell us all the rest of the words that you said, but I want to lift up your point that it's very important. So it is the central part of our service, is very important, and I know that those of you who are in 5th and 6th grade actually know this. I'm going to remind you that they're prayers that we say standing. So at the end of Mi Chamocha, we're going to actually all stand up so we can move through that Amidah, those central prayers that are so important that we even say them standing up as a way to get just a little bit closer and change our frame of mind that we're doing something that's different and special, and that the Amidah, really matters in the structure of our service. So first, we'll sing Mi Chamocha in a very joyful Jewish way that maybe doesn't sound happy, but let's see how we do. Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Norati Lord, O Sefel Shira Chadasha Shibechu Geulim Leshimcha Sefatayam Yachad Kulam Hodu Vehimlichu Ve'ameru Adonai Imloch Leolam Va'ed Tzur Yisrael Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael Ufedechenu Mecha Yehuda V'Yisrael Go'aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Melchei hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chaim b'chesed, Mechayei hakol b'rachamim rabim, Somech nofelim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishimo tovishme marom, kakatuv al yad neviecha, vikara ze el ze ve'amar,
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melocho haaretz, Kevodo.
Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Madir, Shimecha bechol haaretz.
Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo.
Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashmienu, berachamav le'inei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem,
Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Tzion, ledor vador, Hallelujah.
Ledor vador nagid godlecha, ulnetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
To all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Now before we continue, I want to ask if there's anything that anyone noticed as we began the Amidah, either in the leading or in what you noticed in the prayers that you want to mention? Yeah. Great question.
Oh, well, that was a good
Tanner Thomas,
question.
would you like to answer that question?
Sure
It's a
thing.
Phenomenal question.
So on page 248, when we did the Kedusha, and I will also add, I was extremely impressed by the number of people I heard singing along for the Kedusha, because we definitely don't do that in Tefillah on Sundays, and there were many people out here who knew what was happening. So good job, everyone. So if you look at page 248, you can't see it on the slides for sure, but if you look at page 248, what do you observe about the way the Hebrew is laid out? Does anybody have an observation? Yes, sir. The letters aren't in a straight line, okay?
Like, the font is different. That's also true.
That is also true. Andrew? Okay, it seems to be clearly divided into paragraphs. Any other observations? Yeah, there are different sections, and you'll see that there's an indentation, right? It's like somebody hit the tab button a couple times when they were putting the book together, and there's like one here, one here, one here, one here. Okay, it looks staggered like that. And they do that on purpose because actually it's traditional that this prayer in particular would be sung by a leader who's often the cantor or the bar, bat mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah individual, and then everybody else gets to sing the other part. So that texture of going back and forth is part of traditional Jewish prayer. What's really interesting always to me is that the parts that they give to everybody are almost always, not always, but very frequently, the quotes that come from our sacred texts. So the cantor or the b'nai mitzvah or whoever the leader is of the prayer is usually singing the extras that were written by regular people like rabbis or smart people from hundreds of years ago, whereas the part that everybody else gets to sing is the part that comes from the Tanakh, from the Bible. So we did go back and forth, and the one piece I would add is that should a time come, which it is coming for many of you, where you are leading the service as b'nai mitzvah, you actually get to determine whether or not you're prepared to lead the my part or the everybody part. Let me say more about this. So when it's time to prepare, there's like a whole long list of prayers, and everybody starts at the top, and some kids learn a few prayers, and that's appropriate for them, for their motivation or who they are and, you know, the other things they have going on in their life, and that's great, and we love and support you if you learn a few prayers. And then there are other kids who are like really into it, and they will work so hard and go down all the way down the list to the bottom, and they will learn all of my parts, and then I will just stand here and smile at your service, and you will get to sing everything.
Phenomenal. Is there anyone else who noticed anything that you want to note or ask a question about? Yes. Yeah, so a lot of the prayers we said in Hebrew, and then we ended with a little bit in English, right? Good thing to note. So the prayers that we prayed in Hebrew are the prayers of the Amidah, and the part that I read at the end in English is something we actually read and we chanted in Hebrew, but translated into English so that everybody could understand it a little bit more. And it serves a couple of purposes. One purpose is to give us all something in English that we can kind of hold on to because we understand English, I think, a lot better than we understand Hebrew in this sanctuary in particular. And the other, honestly, is to give us something to kind of shift us to the next piece of the service. Sometimes the things that we do as we lead prayer are to move us from one place to another. So that also serves a purpose of kind of moving us from one part of the service to another.
It's like the last bite of whatever course you're in. It's like the last appetizer before you move on.
Oh, I thought we were at the brownies.
It's not quite the brownies, though.
It's true, we're not at the brownies.
It's like the end of the spaghetti or something.
The end of the spaghetti. All right, last question or comment or thought. It's a really great question. It depends on what grade you're in, and we will talk about it after services. But it depends on what grade you're in. It depends on where you are in preparations, and Ken or Thomas knows the answer to that question. But we're gonna keep going for now.
If you have any questions, ask me directly, because you should all know those things at this point.
But sometimes emails get lost.
Sometimes they get lost, so let me know.
We are still in the Amidah, as it turns out, and we're moving to the next prayer, which Ken or Thomas already mentioned, in fact. It is the prayer of happiness. This is how I like to think of this as the smiley face prayer, because oftentimes Ken or Thomas will draw smiley faces in your prayer book to help you remember to smile during this particular prayer, because it is about rejoicing, and you'll hear the similarity that Ken or Thomas mentioned between Miachamocha and this prayer.
You have a part to play in this. Okay, there are like two different roles you can play in Yismechu, but you have one very specific part that is for you, and that is to say Shabbat. You'll know when. Okay, trust me. Here we go. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei Shavi'i Kulam yisbeu vitangu mituvecha Shabbat Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Chemdat yami moto karata Shabbat Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Zecher lemase v'reishit Zecher lemase v'reishit Shabbat Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. And now we take a few moments for the prayers that may not be in the prayer book, but are on your hearts. So we will continue for a few moments in silence. Aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. And with the Torah out of the ark, we sing Shema again. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
For those of you who were wondering, I'm being the B'nai Mitzvah right now. I would be holding this Torah. Someone would have passed me this Torah, and as we spoke about earlier, it would have been passed down through generations of little T Torahs down to me. I'm going to hand Cantor Thomas this Torah so that she can prepare the Torah for chanting, and you all may be seated. I'm going to invite Scott and Emily to come up to help.
Why not?
Yeah.
Do the Aliyah.
For the Aliyah.
Yeah.
And before we chant, I'll just say a word about the Torah portion this week. The piece that Cantor Thomas, our B'nai Mitzvah, has prepared to chant.
Wait, let me actually, do I have the podium? Yeah? Anything? No?
I don't know.
What I will say is, you will be better prepared to chant Torah than I am today at your bar bat mitzvah. I guarantee it.
We'll see. Cantor Thomas is going to chant words today about what the priests were supposed to wear in the ancient tabernacle as they took in and made offerings to God from the people. And they had all sorts of things they were supposed to wear. So while Cantor Thomas is chanting, you'll be able to see the words. Yes? Will you be able to see the words on the on the screen? And if you look on the screen, you'll be able to see the English so you can read along with what's happening. But you'll see that they are supposed to wear a very special garment and a garment on top of that garment and many fine-colored woolen things. And they spend a lot of time figuring out what clothes the priest should wear. And so as we are listening to Cantor Thomas chant Torah, I want you to think a little bit about whether clothes matter. And if they do, why? And when? And if they don't, why not? For now, keep that in your head. I'll ask afterwards what you come up with. In the meantime, Scott and Emily will offer the blessing before the chanting of Torah. Now, if we were in a B'nai Mitzvah service, Scott and Emily would be related, usually, not always, to the B'nai Mitzvah Cantor Thomas. So you can pretend that they are long-lost cousins. We're very grateful you made it all the way here from the North Pole to offer the blessing before Torah reading today.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen. Ve'ata hakrev elecha et Aaron achicha ve'et banav ito mitoch bnei Yisrael lecha hanoli Aaron Nadav va'avihu Elazar v'itamar b'nei Aharon ve'asita vigdei kodesh le'Aharon achicha lechavod ultifaret ve'ata tidaber el kol chachmei lev asher miletiv ruach chochma ve'asu et bigdei Aharon lekadesho lechahanoli ve'ele habegadim asher ya'asu choshen ve'ephod u'me'il uchtonet tashbetz mitznefet ve'avnet ve'asu vigdei kodesh le'aharon achicha ulvanav lechahanoli ve'hem yikechu et hazahav ve'et hatechelet ve'et ha'argaman ve'et tola'at hashani ve'et hashesh. Amen.
So I'll note two things. One is that Cantor Thomas actually served as both the B'nai Mitzvah and as herself in that moment. She was checking to make sure the B'nai Mitzvah was doing their piece, and she was the B'nai Mitzvah doing her piece. And I'll also say a special thank you to Scott and Emily. Oftentimes we offer a blessing to people who come and bless the Torah. It's an honor to get to offer a blessing before and after Torah. And Cantor Thomas wants to offer that blessing.
I want to say a special thank you to them and tell you how amazing they are. So Emily's in 10th grade and Scott is in 12th grade. And both of them became B'nai Mitzvah here on this bima, just as you will. But not only did they become B'nai Mitzvah when they were in the 7th grade, they continue to be a part of the fabric of everything about Temple Beth El, each in their own way. I'm going to tell you about one job that they both do. They are both B'nai Mitzvah tutors. So when you start to prepare, you're going to get to work with an 8th through 12th grader every single week when you come to tutoring, somebody who's already been in your shoes, somebody who learned all the prayers, someone who knows what it feels like to stand up here and do all the things, and they're going to help prepare you. And I think that's one of the absolute coolest things about becoming Bar Bat Mitzvah at Temple Beth El, because not only do you get to learn from me and the rabbis and other grown-ups, you also get to learn from kids, and it's just the best. And Emily and Scott are the best, and we are very grateful for them.
We are. All right, while the Torah is in our midst, and you have learned what all of the priests wear, before we offer our next blessing, does anyone have any thoughts on why we wear what we wear or whether it matters? Yes. Oh, sometimes it matters because different prayers may require a different kind of outfit in a certain way. What else? So there's something about what we wear that shows respect, maybe, or disrespect in other moments. What else? Scott is awesome. Clothes help shape what people think of you. Yeah, there's a lot of perception that is part of what we wear or don't wear. Some of that is, I think, perhaps unfair, and some of that is a helpful sign. So if you go to a place where the people who work there wear uniforms, it's helpful to know who the people who work there are, because then you can ask them questions if you need, and you only know that they are people who work there if they're wearing those uniforms. Similarly, when I lead services, I wear this talit. This talit is my uniform. If I wasn't wearing this talit, and somebody who'd never been to Temple Beth El came to services, and I was either walking around or I was on the bima, they'd have less of an idea of who I was and what I was doing here, but this helps them know that I am helping lead a service. Many more things to say about clothes and why we wear or don't wear them. Is there anything you'd like to add before we offer a blessing? No. All right. So when the Torah is out in our midst, we offer a blessing for healing. We offer a prayer for those people in our lives who are hurting in some way. And sometimes that pain is visible and sometimes it is invisible. And we offer this blessing, this prayer with the Torah in our midst because Torah is what we gather around. And we want to offer this prayer for healing while we're all gathered together because the collective power of our prayer is stronger when we are in community. And so if there's anyone you are thinking of today who is in need of healing, be that healing of body or mind or spirit, I invite you to bring their name, bring their person into your heart as we offer the words of Mishaberach Lecholi.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBeracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor haberacha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We will prepare to return the Torah to the ark, so I'll invite us all to rise. Anytime the Torah is in movement, we stand in respect. We continue our service with the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu kore'im umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo echad.
You may be seated. Near the end of each service, we think about and we call to mind and we say the names aloud of the people in our lives who have died at this time and in years past. And as we talked about earlier this morning, each of us has a little Torah inside of us. We are each made up of the experiences that we have had over the course of our own lives and the people who have helped shape the person we are today. And that's one of the reasons that we offer the names out loud of people who have died. Because there are so many people who have helped shape us and who have helped shape the people who have helped shape us. And so when we say names out loud, we honor those people, we celebrate the life that they lived, and we bring the stories and memories and experiences we had with them into our lives today, and remember to intertwine our little T Torah with theirs. As I offer the names of those we are remembering in our community, one of those people is particularly important to invite you to rise. We're in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Iz Greenwald, Janet Horsley, Norman Allen Lieberman, Jeffrey Reddig, Christine Ritter Vanderpyle, Marshall Rumain, Todd Sherrill, Gene Simmons, and Norman Steinberger. We remember on their yard site Harry Max Auerbach, Louis Berger Jr., Leonard Berman, Maria Bittman, Sidney Blumenreich, Alexander Bogus, Fanny Yasipovich Brodsky, Rochelle Buckstein, Rose Cohen, Iris Crimmins, Ray Fagan, William Ward Faison, Anna Maria Felder, Anthony J. Floresta, Lou Franklin, Emmanuel Froman, Barbara Lord Gavornik, Hyman Gelfand, Peggy Gelfand, Eleanor Gitlin, Philip M. Glazer, Lazar Golinsky, David Michael Goodman, Robert Greenblatt, Madison Guggenheim, Manny Guller, William Michael Humphrey, Stuart Hurwitz, Ruth Joseph, Roy L. Calver, Suzanne Kaminsky, Lillian A. Klein, Elsie Krasner, Celia Kufert, Rabbi David Lefkowitz Jr., Ann Levinson, Wilson Lewis, Hannah Mandel, Deborah Millman, Erin Mond, Catherine Murrison, Peg Murrison, Beatrice Myers, Helen Okun, Sharon Relkin, Sheldon Resnitsky, Bernard Richter, Tomasa Rivera Alicia, Ida Shear, Helen Streifer Rothkopf, Ethan Sedinsky, Neil Sandler, Michael Schreibman, Ann Schwalb, Sam Sepkowitz, Florence Siegel, Richard Sly, Rose Solo, Robert Spiegel, Sid Strauss, Jason Streimer, Zelda Toller, Albert Warnick, and Arlene Warschauer. We rise together as a congregational family for the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah Be'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh Vit hadar, vit ale, vit halal, shmei tudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imiru amen.
You may be seated. this is a time where we offer announcements, and I have a very particular announcement for this particular group who is here today, and for any of you who are joining for whom this may be useful information. For the last 2 years, we have been devastated to not be able to offer the 4th to 6th grade retreat that has been so wonderfully attended and really, really exciting for our students.
Some of these people might not even know that that was a thing because of their age.
None of them, in fact.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So this year, the retreat is back, and we're so, so excited. So March 4th through 6th, 4th graders, 5th graders, 6th graders, you are all invited to Camp Thunderbird for the weekend with each other. There will be all sorts of things to do, and it is a camp like a camp is a camp, so there is a tower, and there is a zip line, and there's a gigantic field, and there are basketball courts, and there's food that is made for us that no one has to make. It's really wonderful. You get to sleep in bunks. So if you haven't seen an email in your inbox, you will shortly. Make sure to ask your parents. Parents, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We would love to have you all there the weekend of March 4th to 6th.
It's pretty amazing. Okay, and with that, thank you all for being with us for Shabbat services, and for our 5th and 6th graders for being with us this morning to talk about Torah and all of the things that go with it. We end just as we began. Here we go. See if you're more awake now. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, I nine 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 nine, I nine 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 nine, I nine 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 nine.
Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom!
If you have a parent here with you in the sanctuary, you may go with that parent. If you do not have a parent in the sanctuary, please stay in the sanctuary for just a moment so I can get us all as a group out to the hallway.
I know. Seriously. I don't know if you saw this in your intro, but because I don't know how present Ellie was. Ellie would literally chant the entire Kriya from the tikkun every single week. He would look at it and then he would chant it. Right, which is different. Where I said 80% prepared, but didn't have time for 100. But
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patty.